Welcome to the system, guys. It's created with the latest, newest ISO available that the beta testers now have and the core members now have. Is the one for in a few weeks, not even that, 10 days. You'll get the new release of ArcoPlasma, Arco Pro and ArcoNet. And this is the ArcoPlasma. This has, let's see, sudo use, this has, or many of our ISOs, right, you can choose between the kernel, and you have the Linux kernel and the linux-cachyos kernel, and you decide which is best for your hardware. When you boot up already, you can make that decision, but later afterwards in your operating system, on your desktop, you can decide to get rid of one of them or keep the two of them, right? Doesn't matter, it's your choice. The thing is, we're talking about updating and the Linux and specifically kachyos. That particular kernel is coming from chaotic AOR. So yay, Linux kachyos is built by the guys from chaotic AOR, but of course they are using AOR, right? So the AOR, that's the version that is now available that you can now build. And on our system, on our repo, we have 11.2.2, so 11.4.3 is available on AOR. Now building these Linux kernels is very CPU intensive. It takes a while, it takes really long, even with all those cores and all those memory available, it takes a while. So hence, we get it from chaotic AOR, put it on our repo from time to time. At least one time in the month, right, just before building new ISOs, we grab the code, the Linux kernel from that moment, and we stick with it. Or we may do one more 2 weeks afterwards, but normally we just stick with it, right? But every single time we make the official releases, we go grab it. You can go grab it if you want. Is there a need to? No, if the kernel is fine and everything is working fine, the only reason why you would say I will go through all the steps that I'm going to explain now to get the very last kernel is because you have an issue. That's the only reason why you might want to consider doing all these steps, or you hope stability, you hope security, you hope things, right? You hope that it's better than new release, which is not always the case. Okay, anyway, so basically if I update my system, I'm up to date. Why? Because our sources are these guys. If I want to have the new Linux kernel, then I hope, right, it's only a hope, that chaotic AOR has this version. It might be also behind, and this might be like 5 seconds ago, it might have been pushed to the AOR. Then chaotic AOR takes its time as well, like, I don't know, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and even then there is how do you call it, a cron, right? So a command that runs again and again and again all these packages. It takes time to cycle through all the packages, and quite, well, 4,000 packages or something on chaotic AOR. So it takes a while before it's cycled through everything. And then maybe you have, well, later on then maybe the new version. What I'm gonna do is show you that we have something called toggle. Toggle is so a switch like on and off toggle, right? And we have the ArcoLinux repo we can toggle, and we can toggle test repo. That's for the beta testers, not for you guys. But we have chaotic repo that we can toggle. So you saw the lines, we have 6 lines, right? Okay. Press enter, update again, and suddenly we have an extra line. Chaotic AOR 671 kilobyte. So yeah, look at the sizes, it's more or less similar. So these are about 1,000 packages if you put all these together, and this is 671, right? Times, I don't know, 3, 4. So yeah, a lot of packages are on here. When I press update, that's gonna be dangerous, right? Thank God nothing happens, because we've put chaotic AOR at the very end. Now what I'd like to do is see if I can get -s linux-cachyos And I have to think about the other one as well, which is the kachyos headers. Both of them are needed, certainly if you have VirtualBox, it requires that. So he wants to get from the Linux, he wants to get the code from the repo. And why does it do that? Because these guys are the first guys. So Pacman looks at the first, doesn't find it, second doesn't find it, third finds it. And it stops looking. It should look here, right? So no. What we need is another toggle. Let's see if we can toggle and then ArcoLinux repo. Oh, like that. Then we do an update and we get only these three guys. Then I'm gonna say, now it's the time to get my toggle Celtic repo. If we now update, we get all this, which I will Control C because I need to analyze, right? I need to think. Because many of these things are not okay, are not needed. It's just a numbering system that's different, and I'd like to keep a minimum of the Celtic AOR packages and / numbering system out of my system, right? Out of my machine. I just want these guys. So updating will cause for lots of questions for users saying, hey, you have this version, I have this version. It's just the same version. It's exactly the same version as you see, .1. Exactly the same version, but yeah, different way of numbering. So they have a different way of numbering things. At this point in time, I can't tell if it's the same or not, but this one we can, right? This is a 6, this is 9, just iteration 3 for them for whatever reason. But it's these guys are still the same. But this is why we're here, right? Want to jump from 6.11.2-2 to 6.11.4. So don't do an update is the message, but do a handpick. Find out what do you exactly need, these guys. So in here we're jumping from 2 to 4, and that's basically all I need. So if that's done, and I can remove Broadcom and Realtek 8821 because I don't have it, which means Control T, remove, and then you can remove things you don't want. Can't have to wait, of course. There's only one Pacman that can be ruling here. Voila. Those guys are out, and I won't be wasting my time building all these extras, taking up time for things I don't have. So now we have an updated system. Kernel is back okay. Can in the meantime already go here. Voila, you know, we can't. Unable to lock. Still busy. Alright, so we've got this. Don't want to do that, right? Because no, I want to stick to pure ArcoLinux repos, numbering system from us, not the Celtic numbering system. So I need to go back, toggle, back to ArcoLinux repo. That's one way of doing things, or you do everything manually, which is a little bit longer. Of course, you will have to live with this little message, right? linux-cachyos locally is newer than the one that we have. So in a month's time, we'll update again, and then it will be exactly the same. But today, after this action here, you'll always see these two lines. That's a given, that's okay, it's fine, but just you know that it's okay. Now, one last thing, I was thinking sudo use, let's have a look. So we still have the Linux kernel here available. So that's one thing we can do is say sudo pacman -remove the Linux and the Linux headers. And then we really have decided to quit using Linux as a kernel here and going for kachyos. And that's it, right? So now we can reboot. We have only sudo use. Let's see if we can already see it. We have only one kernel. It's gonna be 11.4 in the future when we boot up, and all the rest is of course exactly the same. Hope you've learned something, and hope I explained it to you how and why this procedure can be done, and have fun learning about Linux. Cheers.